Hi, I'm Jill from Studio 204. Today I'm going to show you how to make this But First coffee sign. In your kit, you receive Mod Podge. It's labeled with MP on top, as well as 4 other paint choices. You also have 4 sponges here. This will be used to apply the paint. There's also an instruction sheet you can follow along with, or you can follow along with me. And on your instruction sheet, there's a pin. This will be used later to peel up the stencil. And of course, you received your pre-stained wood palette and the stencil here. Your stencil is labeled step 3 on the front and step 1 on the back, and we'll go through how to apply this to your palette. So to start, you're going to peel off step 1. This is a grid paper on the back. Slowly peel it away from the blue and make sure that none of the blue comes off with it. The blue side is tacky, and this is what will adhere to your board. Just go as slow as you need to. And it should look like this. One side is tacky and one side is the grid paper. You can put this to the side. Next, flip it over and place it on your palette. It's okay if it's a little crooked, doesn't need to be perfect. Next, take a squeegee. At home, you can use a credit card or a gift card if you have one readily available, and just rub it over your stencil to adhere it to the wood board. Go over it as many times as you need to make sure that there's no air bubbles. Once you're sure that's fully adhered, peel off the top layer that's labeled step 3. It's a translucent paper, and just peel it off super slow. And make sure as you're peeling that none of the blue comes off with it. So it should look like this. If you notice any of the blue coming up with the transfer paper on top, just fold it right back down and rub your squeegee over the top just to adhere it back to the wood. And this is how it should look once the stencil is adhered. Next, take your Mod Podge. It's labeled MP on top. This acts as a primer so that the paint we put on top doesn't bleed. And take a sponge here. You're gonna wanna put a light layer on top. Just dab it directly on top of the letters. A very thin layer is all you need. So if you can see here, it's translucent, but you can see how thin of a layer I put on. And just make sure to go over all the letters where you see the wood exposed. And here you go. This should only take a couple minutes to dry. Once that's dry, you can begin putting your paint on top. I'm gonna use blue and white, but you can use absolutely any color you want. So I'm gonna start with the white. Take a new sponge and just dip it right in the paint. And again, you only need a thin layer of this. So just dab a light layer on top of the letters again. This is how it should look. And now I'm going to take a new sponge when I go in with the blue. And do the same thing, just put a thin coat of paint on the letters. It's okay if the letters look like they're still somewhat translucent. We'll be putting a few layers on top. So just wait for that to dry. It should take only a few minutes if you did a very light layer. And then we'll put another layer on top. You can do 2 to 3 layers or as many as you think you need. I'm using the same sponge as before, as long as it's the same color. So here's what this looks like. Once it's dry, you can begin to peel off the blue layer. And it's completely fine if this rips as you peel it off. Just go very slow. And it may come off in a few different pieces, but that's totally fine. So you should be left with something that looks like this. And as you'll see, there's still some pieces of stencil left in between the letters. So that's where your pin comes in handy. Just take your T-pin and gently peel up the stencil that's in between the letters with the pin. It's a bit tedious, but you'll get it. As you can see, it's just coming right up as soon as I hook it underneath with the pin. And here it is. This is what it should look like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this class.